Shocking discovery. Mysterious findings with skulls from another world in the bowels of a cave in Mexico. These findings with skulls in the bowels of a cave in Mexico, the skull display in a museum. Since mid-March 2003, the Gloucester Museum in London has been exhibiting a unique find in its glass cases. This find is a peculiar skull that captivates the eyes of all visitors and causes both the admiration and the fear of young and old. The exhibit has aroused both the interest of scientists and the expected scorn of others. This exhibit is a skull with very strange dimensions and very different proportions from humans. And as can be seen in the picture, the skull has large cranial cavity, much larger than human. The cranial bony sutures are nowhere to be seen. There's no suture. Well, there's one on the top going from left to right. I can see that. It has a weak but steeply sloping frontal arc. The eyebrows, as you can see. It has no cheekbones. Well, I see cheekbones up between the eyes and the ears. Are those cheeks? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a forensic scientist, but anyway. Weak sloping frontal arc, the eyebrows. It has no cheekbones. Its eye sockets are thickened downwards. The nasal bone is very similar to the human, but is wider. The upper jaw is strongly inclined and, well, we do see the teeth. The upper jaw is strongly inclined. The lower jaw is missing. Well, it's not missing, it's here. Strongly inclined. The lower jaw missing. Now, the point of its connection with the upper jaw is visible on either side of the paria of the skull, the sides of the skull. The parietals show a movement towards the inside of the skull, and we do not see in this illustration at least auditory exits on either side of the skull. The skull also has a great peculiarity regarding the strength of the skull. Its strength is twice that of a normal human skull. The shocking discovery was made by archaeologists in the middle of the summer of 2003 in the bowels of a cave in Mexico. After the first investigations and after chemical analysis, they announced that the skull is attributed to a child of the age of 15. Along with the skull, bones belonging to a 70-year-old man were found also there. Of course, this caused many questions and disagreements among scientists. The curious thing is the following. The skull on display is not the real one, but a faithful copy of it. The real thing has long remained with great secrecy and terrible security measures in British laboratories. Why would a child's skull be persistently hidden and no details revealed about it? And why hide so long and conduct secret tests on a child's skull? Why are exam details and results not disclosed? Why such extensive investigations? The skull of the 15-year-old child, much larger than that of an old man. The museum and experts in an awareness campaign similar to the one in Roswell maintain and insist that the skull belongs to a child with a deformed skull. Many experts, however, talk about an alien skull and demand that all research and test results be made public. However, according to experts, investigations are ongoing and the data has not been made public. Will it ever come out? The mysterious skull and its strange discoveries, another event took place in Bulgaria. In fact, the fact occupied the Bulgarian press quite a bit, but in Greece, of course, it passed into small news. In Bulgaria, the media reported that the event may not have happened there by chance, but perhaps some intellectuals, quote unquote, wanted the specific event to unfold there. In particular, the front pages of the Bulgarian newspapers were filled with the strange news of the discovery of a strange skull, alien according to some researchers. The find in the first days after its discovery was in the Museum of Paleontology in the city of Asenovgrad, a famous cultural and scientific center. But what causes great interest besides the find is also the way it was found by a Bulgarian. In April 2001, a 38-year-old Bulgarian had a strange dream. He saw 5 white-robed humanoid spirit entities visit him and point out a specific spot where he would make an earth-shattering discovery. The men were very tall, with short white hair and short white metal armor. The 38-year-old Bulgarian, who stubbornly kept his anonymity, declares himself an atheist. If he were a believer, he would tell the world visions of angels, etc. And thus he had learned to interpret such events based on materialistic notions, and so he did not pay any attention to the dream he saw. However, the dream repeated with the same intensity. The Bulgarian was impressed, but continued to ignore this event. It took 3 more visits in a dream to bend the materialistic interpretation and approach of the strange event. He was finally convinced to look for this item, but we must emphasize that in the 5th and last visit of the creatures, they revealed that with the discovery and its publication, the circle of time will be closed, quote unquote. When the recipient of the messages from the white men decided to look for what had been indicated to him, he realized that he did not have a clear picture of the location and point to look for, nor the wider area where this object was located, but he embarked on his research with his wife and 2 more friends who had shown interest, following his instinct and hoping for a transcendental guidance. This guidance did exist, and they ended up by car in an area of the Bulgarian Rhodopis near Philippopolis, which made him feel that he had a direct connection with his dreams. Turning suddenly to his wife, he says, "This is the exact area where we have looked," and indeed on May 21st, 2021, the Bulgarian man discovered on an adjacent hill a find that has and will continue to preoccupy scientists and may overturn many facts and situations in many areas of human civilization. There on the hill was the strangest skull that man had ever seen. And as can be seen, it's a triangular skull. In its upper part we notice a broad bone in the front of a crown with 6 holes of unknown use. It has 2 holes in the position of the eyes, and no oral cavity is observed. Here and there in the part where the mouth should be, we see 2 bones ending in the position of the fangs and starting from the sides of the skull. And we also see 2 holes at the edges of the mouth. Nasal cavity is not observed. We have a small pharyngeal arc and cheeks with a strong tendency towards the inside of the mouth. We do not observe auditory resources. The simultaneous absence of the mouth and auditory resources leaves many questions marks about the creature's ability to communicate. How did he communicate with other similar beings? Many daredevils reported that this being communicated telepathically. The bony crown of the creature with the holes it carries also gives rise to such thoughts. Telepathic communication, everyone who has had contact with aliens says so. The weight of the skull is only 250 grams, and its size is about equal to the skull of a baby. However, we can better study the object based on the available photos. The skull as seen in relation to a woman's hand, you can see there. The 250 grams it weighs is, of course, very little for its size. The back view of the skull, the 2 holes in the mouth and the area continue all the way back to the full depth of the skull. Also seen is the absence of the mandibular joint and the separation of the cranial bones. The crown at the top of the skull is better distinguished. It looks like an adjective. And in the center of the back of the skull, however, we also see a joint that would obviously be intended to connect the skull to the creature's spine. Lateral view of the skull, we observe several cranial bony sutures, and we also see the holes in the crown of the skull. The face of the creature on the left side of the photo, a precious photo from it, we can observe a lot and infer more. The photo shows at the top the view of the skull, the side view of the face, facing the right of the photo, and the right photo shows the cranial cavity of the creature and the brain cavity, that is. What we observe is that the creature has a brain cavity proportionally very large for its dimensions. Second, the brain space is divided into 2 parts, just like the human brain. This means that the creature had some intelligence. However, in combination with the spacious brain cavity, Questions are left about how intelligent this being was. Let's not forget, however, that many anthropologists and doctors talk about the enlargement of the human cranial cavity compared to samples of skulls from earlier years. In other words, an enlargement of the brain space is observed. And as we continue to tell the story, we see other remarkable events unfolding. The group that discovered this strange skull discovered at a distance of 1,500 meters from the area of the skull a strange piece of metal, particularly smooth and very lightweight in proportion to its size. It weighed about 800 grams. However, the team did not announce their findings anywhere, waiting for some spiritual guidance on what to do. And the guidance finally came, and in December 2001, they showed experts their findings. They approached the Ethnograph Museum, and its director, Dmitry Kovachev, was enthusiastic about this exhibit. So he agreed to exhibit this find, and for about a week it remained on display at the museum. And then the holder requested it back, possibly due to relevant guidance, but the time that the skull remained in the museum was enough for it to be photographed and attract crowds of scientists to study it. The first estimates speak of something completely unknown. Paleontologist Jordanov estimates the skull to be at least 30,000 years old, and the official Bulgarian community report that this is a large-sized being, that if we approach it in terrestrial terms, then we're talking about a vegetarian mammal. It was even announced that the skull does not belong to any known species of animal that ever lived on our Earth. The director of the museum himself, when asked about the find, speaks openly about the skull, 100% from another world, he said. He also adds that it's not certain that we can connect the incident to the strange and unknown metal found nearby. And here I must add, says the writer, that the metal is completely unknown and research into it is still ongoing. So far, nothing has been officially announced. In the country, like Bulgaria, of course, with a long mystical tradition, it was logical to arouse great interest on the part of those involved in parapsychology and mystical research. The president of the Association of Parapsychologists in Bulgaria, Marin Naidenov, and the biotherapist Kombrat Tomov state, indeed, a circle will be closed with the finding of the skull, but they are sure that this circle should have been closed thousands of years ago. But as humanity, we were late. It was also heard that such skulls exist in many private collections of individuals or organizations, and that they should be made public in order to have a true history. The present incident is obviously a puzzle to science. This time they can't get away with regulating it to a hypothetical or extinct animal. This time they did not manage to fade this issue either. Besides, the strange way of finding this and the persistence of the white-clad people show that what happened did not happen by accident. Their persistence shows that they will not give up their purpose easily. What is their purpose? The cycle of time to be closed? This is what they told the man they guided to find the skull. So what does that mean? Many interpret it as a statement that with its discovery and with the publication of this news, some very important processes will begin and all scientists and all common people will be shaken. Perhaps the scientific community will accept not only the existence but also the visit of extraterrestrial entities to our Earth. Such an action, of course, we understand its effect on public opinion, and the rest are personal thoughts and perceptions. The writer says, I don't know where to classify this find, in cryptozoology, in the theory of extraterrestrial life, or somewhere else. Wherever we rank it, it certainly evokes admiration and various thoughts. Science has understandably been quick to react. The well-known parascientists and the mass deception media spoke about the extinct species of ox. The ridiculousness of the claim of this course is obvious. They said it was an ox. In fact, the press reported the event with the characteristic lightness with which it refers to similar issues, and with obvious will to ridicule, spoke with mocking tone about the dreamers and the fantasies who rush to talk about aliens and extraterrestrial people. But the truth will shine. But always with persistence and research, the writer says, I don't know exactly what the skull is. I don't believe it is something that we know and are around us. There are also thoughts about hollow earth. Really, do inhabitants exist in hollow earth? If they exist, have any chance of resembling anything like this? Are aliens out of the question if they lost one of their own and left them in a cave where the skull was found? Nothing is ruled out, and we see and we wonder and we judge. This is from a Greek article. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.